Now, the Prime Minister says he's delivering a fairer and improved transport system and extending the £2 bus fare cap into 2024.
This comes after Rishi Sunak derailed the northern leg of HS2 at his party's conference earlier this month. Well, Transport Secretary Mark Harper joins us now. So, Mr Harper, thanks for being with us this morning. £150 million funding boost for local businesses. What is that going to mean to people? Are their bus services going to be regular, going to be running on time with this money?
Well, look, there's two things. First of all, you cover the story there that we axed the second phase of HS2. Now, that wasn't going to deliver trains to Manchester until 2041. By making that long-term decision, which I know wasn't popular with everybody, it's meant that we've been able to make funding available to deliver benefits to people straight away. So there's £150 million for next year for buses in the North and the Midlands. That's the first instalment of £1 billion for buses. And then from next week, people across the country will see the extension of the £2 bus fare cap, which has been very popular, was going to be going up to £2.50 next week. We're able now, with that HS2 money, to keep it at £2 all the way through until the back end of next year. Really important for people as a cost of living measure and to encourage people onto buses, the most popular form of public transport.
Mark Harper, whilst we've got you, I want to ask you about the Israel-Gaza war and, of course, the concern for British hostages or those holding dual citizenship. The Foreign Secretary speaking last week, he estimated there were up to 10 British hostages being held in Gaza. What are we doing to negotiate their safe return?
Well, look, I'm not going to talk, obviously, about specific circumstances. You wouldn't expect me to do so. But you'll have seen last week the Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister in the region talking to leaders, not just in Israel, but also in the surrounding countries, so in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia and in Qatar, working very hard, both dealing with the hostages, the British citizens that have been taken hostage, these other citizens that have been taken hostage, but also talking to Israel, supporting them in their right to defend their country from Hamas's attack, but also urging humanitarian support for the innocent Palestinian people who are just as much victims of Hamas as those living in Israel.
And Mr Harper, the Tory party, I mean, you all got your bottoms well and truly walloped, didn't you, last week with these by-election results? Are you concerned now about a potential reshuffle? There's talk now that, in a desperate attempt to turn things around, Rishi Sunak is going to do that very shortly.
Well, two things on that. First of all, in the by-elections last week, the results were obviously very disappointing. We had two fantastic candidates. I campaigned in both of the seats myself. But I know from talking to voters on the doorstep that a lot of our voters stayed at home. Labour's vote was actually down in mid-Bedfordshire compared to 2019 and only up a little bit in Tamworth. But our voters didn't come out as we would want them to. But that's why it's important we keep focused.
Oh, come on, Mr Harper. That's a little bit of a feeble excuse, isn't it? Voters staying at home. Really?
Well, that's what happens in by-elections. The turnout in both by-elections was very low. As I said, Labour's vote was actually lower than in 2019. Clearly, Conservative voters didn't come out. Now, that is a problem. That's why we need to keep focused on the important things that matter to people, driving down inflation, growing the economy, stopping the boats, keeping debt under control, all of the things that matter to people, as well as the international leadership that the Prime Minister is providing. We've got to keep focused on those day in and day out. And that's
you do, but the problem is that the Prime Minister and you and the rest of your team, you haven't got long to do this. We could be 12 months away from a general election. You haven't got long to turn things around, have you?
Look, we're very focused on the things that we need to do that are the British people's priorities. Look, one of the reasons I'm talking to you today about our announcement about buses is that actually matters to people. You know, in an area like mine, if you use public transport, it'll be buses that you use. What we've announced today is really important for cost of living. Bus fares in England are down 7%. It's the only part of the country where they are. They're up in Wales, they're up in London, they're up in Scotland. That actually matters to people. We need to keep focused on the everyday issues that concern people, and if we deliver on the promises that we've set out, then we'll make that argument to the country whenever the election comes, and I'm confident we'll be successful.
Yesterday marked 1 year since Rishi Sunak got the keys to number 10. Do you have full confidence in him that he'll be Prime Minister when the general election comes around? Because there are reports in the papers this morning that a number of letters have gone into Graham Brady of the 1922 committee.
Yeah, I have total confidence in the Prime Minister. I campaigned very hard to get him to be Prime Minister in the first place. I think he's repaid the confidence we've had him in the year that he's been Prime Minister. He is totally focused on the priorities that he set out, which are the right priorities for the British people. And I know the Conservative Parliamentary Party is fully behind him as we set that agenda out, as we deliver on those promises in the months to come.
Still lagging 18 to 20 points behind Labour, though.
Look, I don't hide from the fact that things are challenging at the moment. It's tough for people at the moment. That's why we've set out the promises we have. Look, people are there's a tough economic challenge, which is why we've got our top priorities of halving inflation and growing the economy. Those things really matter to people. We're starting to see success there. Inflation is on track to be halved. That's how you deliver more money in people's pockets. You're growing the economy. That's why we're seeing unemployment remaining low. Those are the everyday issues which matter to people. That's what we're focused on. And people will judge us when the election comes on delivery. And that's what ministers are focused on across the government, is delivering on those objectives. And that's the lead that the Prime Minister is showing us, taking tough decisions for a better future. That's what the government is focused on from the top all the way through the Parliamentary Party.
Do you still expect to be Transport Secretary come the beginning of January?
Look, I'm getting on with my job. Look, who's in the government's entirely a matter for the Prime Minister. He's asked me to do this job. I've been doing it for the last year. I'm going to keep focused on it, delivering on the objectives, like redirecting that money we've saved from HS2 onto everyday issues that matter to people, like keeping their bus fares under control, making sure they've got better transport to get to work, to get around and to live their lives as they want to. That's what I'm focused on.
OK, Mr Harper, very good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.